All right, second episode of this, the Someone Else show. The second episode of this weekend, and that'll be the last one for this weekend because the weekend's 2 days. And we're going to start off with just going over, and do the same thing. We're going to go over the current election results, see if anything new came in, which I don't think anything did. And I don't know why I didn't have this pulled up yesterday, but the reason why is this will impact what I want to talk about next, which is the actual topic, the first topic, being, what the Republicans are going to do once they're there, right? Once they're all certified and in their offices that they were elected to. And nothing has changed since I checked yesterday. Still 216 to 209 for the House. And a lot of the races are still close. I'm going to assume that the Republicans will at least have a tie. The minimum will be a tie. They'll have at least 217 because of Alaska. That's pretty in the bag, I would think. So the thing I wanted to go over first is assuming that they get at least that, if not some sort of majority in the House to go with the Senate and also having the office of the presidency. We can celebrate all we want to, well earned, but you get back to work. You gotta get back to work. You gotta focus up immediately because you only have 2 years guaranteed because there's midterms, right? So you only have 2 years guaranteed of having presumably all three of these, and as many Republicans feel, I'm sure, myself included, because this is what I feel. We're not as well run of a machine as the Democrat Party. We're just not, right? I mean, you saw it last session or whatever of Congress or something, where what did we do? The Republicans in the House spent like 3 weeks or a month or some ridiculous amount of time infighting over trying to replace our Speaker of the House, because I don't even know why, really. I think that everything was going as fine as it could be, considering that we only had the House. But for some reason we just had to do that. And, now we're going to have the Senate and hopefully still the House. And hopefully, they're just going to keep going with the same speaker if we do keep the House. But then, it's like, but the Senate's up for grabs because, God, who was it? Who was our leader of the Senate? Minority leader of the U.S. Senate. Mitch McConnell, that's right. From, Tennessee or Kentucky? One of those two. Right, Mitch McConnell is stepping down he's going to still finish out his term as a senator that he's in right now, but he's not going to be the majority leader once the new Congress is in office. So, and there's been like talks, there's about three. There's the one from the guy from Montana. I don't know all their names. I don't. But hopefully, right, and the point is that seems like we have like three clear-cut picks to choose from, and there's hopefully not going to be a lot of delay and infighting. But we just, for some reason, we just can't trust our own party with it. We just can't, because they have this tendency to just squander a lot of the times. They like to pry defeat from the jaws of victory, if you will. So hopefully, right, the hope that I'm going to put out there is for the love of this country, our elected officials just pick somebody to be the Senate Majority Leader, keep the confirm who's our Speaker of the House, and then just get to work. Okay, because you only have 2 years before the next midterm, and things could change in the midterm. And a lot of the times they do. Typically, I think, right, whatever the party of the sitting president is, whatever it is they're controlling, whether it be the Senate or the House or both, typically at least one will flip, whichever one they have, or one of the two. Are both flip? If one's Republican, that one will go Democrat, and then the Democrat one will go Republican. They flip. The point is, things like to flip in the midterms. In every election, honestly, but specifically the midterms, they typically flip away from the sitting party of the presidency, I think, is what it is. And so you only have two guaranteed years until the midterms to really get shit done, right? So, the first thing you're gonna do, the first thing that needs to happen is not even anything to do with the Senate or the House itself. And this has been a thing going around. It's like, the SCOTUS appointments, right? Clarence Thomas, and then I would argue Alito, because everyone's talking about Justice Thomas because he's 76, but no one, for some reason, a lot less people are talking about Alito, who's 74. That's literally just a 2-year difference. Like, I don't know why everyone, or most people, are just focusing on Thomas. It's like it should be both. Both need to. Both are at that age, roughly the same age. So it's like, if you're gonna say Thomas needs to step down so that Trump can appoint a successor, then the same thing should be for Alito. I think both should, and it needs to happen. We need to do that. Immediately. That should be an immediate thing. Don't wait around for that. And then also, you gotta get all this stuff done, right? Focus on getting stuff done in these first 2 years, and then make sure, right? We need to focus up as a party to make sure that, right, we have these 2 years, but we gotta make sure that something doesn't flip for the other 2 years of Trump's presidency, so that we can get all 4 years effectively to get to be effective. And then that'll only take us to 2028. And the reason I bring that up is you can't just stop at 2028. You're gonna have to, right? 2028 is going to be just as important as this. I would argue, because I've seen this thing floated around primarily from one of my favorite individuals to watch. Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire has been floating around this thing where the 2020 census count was off, where a bunch of left voting states were overcounted for their population, a bunch of right-leaning states were undercounted for their population, which means the electoral college votes got skewed towards the left, and then when you account for the fact that since then a lot of people have been moving away from places like California, New York, and Illinois to places like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and wherever else, the 2030 census will really matter, and we got to make sure that hopefully we're in charge for that, because we don't want the Democrats too. It's gonna sound a little bit conspiratorial, but it's like to accidentally, right? Because they say it's an accident, right? Right. But the point is, we want to be in charge, so because we don't want the Democrats to be in charge and accidentally do the same thing again, where they undercount Republican states and overcount Democrat states to skew the electoral college. Because if you look at the projections, like Texas would gain like 5 electoral college points. Florida would gain like 4, and Tennessee like 2 or 3. California would lose like 5. New York would lose like 3. Illinois would lose maybe 3. I think it's something like that. The point is it's something like that, which is like that's like a 20 point swing, something, right? Because it's taking away 10 from them, roughly 10 or something from the Democrat states, and giving it to the Republican states. So that's a 20-point swing, which is huge. So And all those would be in safe, right? They'd be taking it from the safer states, right? Because again, California, New York, and Illinois, those are safe Democrat states. Those have been losing population, and that population has been going to safe red states, Texas, Florida, Tennessee. So those are safe electoral college. That's huge to swing that. So it would be nice to make sure that 2030 census really does go through. It doesn't undercount or overcount or whatever, to make sure that because that's huge for the Republican Party. So we can't just focus on this victory. The Republicans need to get in line for once in their for once in this party's existence. Get in line, do what we need to do, right? Get done what needs to be get done. Don't do this infighting stuff, and then focus on keeping that stability at least until 2030 is I guess not the short term but like the medium term goal I would set, because again that seems pretty important to make sure that 2030 census is accurately counted. And then just and for their credit, at least Trump and his whatever small amount of people that he like already has confirmed to be a part of his administration, right? Everyone that he's working with as part of his, I guess, maybe transitional team or from his campaign, they have been working to at least for day one. They're getting prepped for day one because obviously, doing stuff in the Senate and the House, right? That's going to take time, right? That's not a day one thing, right? You don't go into the House, write up a law, goes to the Senate, and then they pass it, and then goes to his desk. It doesn't happen in one day, right? It's going to take time. So they've been working on executive orders, and they've been publishing them, right? Publishing what their plans are for executive orders to, have stuff in place on day one that I presume, hopefully, is more of a filler, kind of a stopgap until the like full blown law of that can get passed through Congress. And then one of the big ones is actually that he announced is about free speech. One of those key things that allowed him to get elected, which kind of is a lesson that he's taking from it, which was Musk's purchase of Twitter. Allowing free speech on a major platform like that, and it's kind of he's the lesson is being learned that like we need to preserve that free speech. Not just on X now, but just broad stroke across the internet at large. And so, he made an announcement video, and I'm going to play that right now. And it's just going to briefly allow him to, you're going to briefly hear at least the beginning of his explanation of those policies as soon as I can. This is a very, it's a one-man operation. I'm sorry. It's very, I thought I had this ready. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Boom. So this will be him explaining, and he's going to go after the left. I think it's something that I should mention. He's planning to really go after that online censorship, that mis and disinformation thing. So here is Trump announcing the plan for that specific executive order regarding that.
First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified.
Oh my God. Man, really low budget production. You can really tell. Anyways, but there you go. There's there's what the general idea is going to be, and he mentioned a bunch of all those alphabet soup organizations, and one they didn't mention that I think is going to be in his crosshairs a little bit more now is the FBI, because I believe yesterday it was CNN, at least was the one that I saw, was reporting that a bunch of bureaucrats in the Pentagon were holding meetings to discuss how they could disobey direct orders from President Trump, should they feel the need to, or I guess given if they are given quote unquote controversial orders, which in one sense, it's like, you don't want. This might be just a common thing that happens with every president. It's like, we don't want the commander in chief to go off the deep end, maybe, which maybe is what they're hoping that would sound like. But given the climate of everything, and given how it was the bureaucracy of the Pentagon, and the bureaucracy is really a target for them. They feel probably threatened, as they should, and there are talks about him bringing back a thing called Schedule F for the government employees, which would make them more easy for him to fire. And they are going around, like, internally in the Pentagon, like, they're worried, and so they're trying to move as many people as they can to be kind of safe from that reclassification. So they're it's really going to be it's shaping up to be a battle between the president and the Pentagon on that sense. And so, presumably he's going to have the Pentagon in his radar now too. And then other things are on his radar that he's going to have to deal with. And the law stuff isn't over yet. The common consensus is that all of the prosecutions against him, especially the one from the DOJ specifically, are dead, and they should be. But the one from the DOJ specifically is will not prosecute a sitting president, or presumably by extension a president-elect. And a lot of reporting has been focused on their motions that were filed. They kind of people have used to back up that possibility. But if you read those papers that were filed by the special counsel, prosecutor Jack Smith, on behalf of the U.S. government and the DOJ, all they're asking for is that the briefing schedule of the pre-trial be vacated. Right, so not vacating the entire case itself, just the pre-trial. And if you read it, it says, quote, "As a result of the election held on November 5th, 2024, the defendant is expected to be certified as president-elect on January 6th. And I can't wait to see what the left does on that day, because that's a holy day for them now. They're going to be crying in the streets. And then inaugurated on January 20th, 2025, the government respectfully requests that the court vacate the remaining deadlines in the pre-trial schedule to afford the government time to assess this unprecedented circumstance and determine the appropriate course of action going forward consistent with DOJ policy. And by December 2nd, 2024, the government will file a status report or otherwise inform the court of the results of the deliberation. The government has consulted with the defense counsel, so I guess maybe that might be a good sign for what it actually is, but we don't know for sure. Did not object to this request. The defense did not reject that motion. So they're just getting rid of the pretrial stuff, which everyone's just taking as they're dismantling the whole thing, but we can't know for sure. And even they say that they're gonna try to match up with their own DOJ, being consistent with DOJ policy, because this is so unprecedented. They're taking the time to to ask for this, and that doesn't mean anything, because prosecuting a former president was unprecedented. So using unprecedented, using the lack of precedence of a unique situation is they've already tarnished that. So if it's unprecedented or not, they still might do it, because again, prosecuting a former president was unprecedented. So who knows if they're just going to keep breaking the precedents and just try and continue anyways. So and the trial is the only thing they have left, because they've already Kamala in her speech, the concession speech, said we'll certify the election. There will be a peaceful transfer of power. Joe said that in his as well. They've publicly set that as the expectation. So the trial is the only thing they have left really to bank on if they want to stop it, because they can't try and pull a Trump, if you will, and try and not certify the election. So they're really gonna try if they, because we all know that they're not gonna stop. We all know that they won't, and they're gonna, if this is the one thing they have left, they're gonna go full send behind it. They're gonna say screw the precedents. We don't care if it's unprecedented. We don't care if he's a president-elect. We didn't care that he was a former president, so we're not going to care if he's a president-elect. We're still going to try and do this before he can get sworn in. And speaking of nothing stopping these people, not even hurricanes will stop them. Because according to reporting from the Daily Wire, a FEMA relief effort supervisor named Marnie Washington ordered those under her supervision to, quote, avoid homes advertising Trump when they were in the area of Lake Placid, Florida. When it came to identifying residents who could qualify for federal aid, at least 20 homes were skipped under these orders. All this according to whistleblowers and internal messages, group chats, essentially, that were shared with the Daily Wire, and this was confirmed by multiple government employees. The good news is, as far as I know, within the same day of this coming out, she was fired. So that's at least good. But that does, again, go to show you that they have no limits on what they would do to, against their political opponents. Right? Not even hurricane relief is safe from them, from their political, from their political strifes. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but they would rather leave people to suffer from a hurricane than to put aside politics. And then, of course, today being Sunday, that means that yesterday was Saturday. Yesterday, we put out that first episode, but it being Saturday, the usual stuff happened. One of those being SNL, of course, came out, and one of the things that you could really see coming was, of course, that it was going to be about the election, and all the overgrown and overdosed on delusion theater kids over there did the classic, the classic old bit of we're saying things totally of our free will. We're definitely not being held at metaphorical gunpoint, and it was just sad. It was just sad. It was stupid, and again, it's such a stale bit throughout, entertainment history. And I don't know, it was just kind of meh. But and they did both Trump and Musk. But naturally now their supply of delusion and presumably also fentanyl will be cut off when Trump closes the border. So I can't wait to see them go through that withdrawal and be faced with reality again. And then some other notable things that kind of, one of my favorite things that I've seen this weekend was a clip going back to I think the thing that's still been one of the fun things of this result of the election is people on the left losing their mind. They're losing their minds normally anyways, but post election where they lose, it just it ramps up to extraordinary degrees, beyond the normal extraordinary degree of delusion that they have. And this is one of my favorites where I think this would be yesterday on like one of the weekend shows. They have a B team of people on there, whatever, and one of the people on that panel brings up that the people they didn't want the quote is he says everyday Americans don't like it when boys play girls sports, right, referring to transgender and all that, and which is true, right, that's been a huge thing. In fact, I've been following a story about not just a story, but like a developing timeline, I guess, of I believe it's San Jose State. The volleyball team has a transgender on it, and a lot of their opponents have been forfeiting matches beforehand, right? And that's just been going on throughout the season, right? So it's a very prominent thing, and a lot of there was a very effective ad, specifically I think most effective in Texas, where it was the football player. Because I think was Aikman or whatever his name is, running against Cruz, was a football player in the NFL, and so they did this ad where it's like you don't want men playing our girls in sports, and the girl gets tackled, whatever. So this has been a big issue, but look at how, and it's going to be exactly who you think it is, because it's it's the watch the guy who. It's exactly what you'd think a one of these liberals would be like, gray, guy with gray hair and thin wire glasses, right? The usual typical like old guy liberal who takes offense to it, I guess, and just watch.
There who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt.
I see you heard that, right? He reacts with, he says that him saying, I believe he said, quote, right, was it, everyday Americans don't like it when boys play girls' sports, and he reacts with, right, thin wire, flame, gray hair, glasses, liberal guy, we found him, the one a white dude for Harris over here, says, that's a slur. So saying the word boy is a slur now, according to the left. So, they're really losing it. If the word boy is a slur, now I'm gonna go up to every leftist and just be like, listen, I'm just gonna say the word boy to their face and be like, boy, and they're gonna melt. They're gonna melt in the street apparently. No, I mean they're probably not, but like this is just ridiculous though. This one guy goes as far, that's hilarious. It's a slur. You gotta go to confession for what you just said. You said the B word. You said boy. How dare you? His ears are probably bleeding from the profanity of the word boy. I might get, this video, might get taken down because I'm just swearing so much. This slurring that I'm doing by saying by saying the B word. You know, I gotta be careful. We all gotta be careful, you know? Woo! And it's just ridiculous. And then another fun one was, I think another fun joke was that, Trump should go into office and then pull a transgender and say that he's a woman so he could be the first woman president. But the left also has kind of had a similar idea where this is a panel on CNN where a guy says that only now, by the way, remember how Joe Biden's been mentally deceased in a vegetable for like 2 years, and they didn't pull the 25th Amendment on him. Finally, they're saying that the 25th Amendment should be invoked because it would at least allow Kamala to be the first woman president, even though she lost.
Is looking for. That is my question. I'll start with you.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve her from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
Okay, this
operate.
is now jumped.
So there you go. I mean, if that's really what their whole focus is, if that's really the only thing they care about, honestly, I might just say do it. Because then what are they going to do? Because if they do that, then it's like, well, then you have nothing. Because honestly, if they might be honestly better if they do it. Right? It would be totally unearned. It would be a sham. Didn't get elected. And if a woman gets elected in the future, genuinely, it would take away from that. But at the same time, though, if they do that, it will take that away from them. They can't run on and complain about, people didn't want to elect the first female president because there would have been a female president, even if it was, by another coup, essentially, and only for 3 months, completely unearned, and really just a technicality. But, on one hand, it's dumb and it's stupid. But on the other hand, it's like they would be taking that away from themselves. So it's kind of a mixed bag, if you will, as far as I'm concerned. But they're crazy. And then the last fun one that I found was actually not the last one, but this was another fun one when it comes to elected and unelected and who deserves to be in office and whatnot, which is in Michigan, in a town called Delta. All right, they elected a supervisor, for their township, called Ken Fletcher. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because he actually had resigned from that position and has now been reelected to that position. But the reason he resigned was because he's a pedophile, and there was a sting operation ran by police in the fashion of To Catch a Predator, right, where they did the online chat and pretended to be a little kid, and they pulled the old To Catch a Predator on him, and he's facing felony charges for pedophilia, and all that stuff. But and he resigned from that post because of that. But he ran and has been reelected in that town, and that town voted 89% in favor of him. This is what they do. This is what they do. They just elect, right? And this is the same party that complains, Trump can't be elected because he was impeached twice unsuccessfully, but he was impeached twice, and he has these they're bogus, but they're going to go, he has 34 felony charges on some sort of thing that we don't even know, actually. We're just making it up as we go, right? And they complain about all this stuff. He's a convicted felon. Well, it's like, here's a guy who was caught in a police sting operation for child pedophilia, and you still elected him. So, the double standard is very much in effect, and I don't know how this should be a bigger story, in my opinion, and hopefully it does. It does become a bigger story. And the one thing is, I don't think he can pardon himself for any of that, so he's still going to be facing those charges. So hopefully that gets resolved, if you will. So, hopefully this made the weekend a little bit more fun. I don't know if anything came out in the last couple hours that would be a fun story to go over, but hopefully, this filled your weekend from the lack of podcasts or shows, and we'll see. We'll be back next weekend on Saturday.